What's up, TPE fam? Welcome back to another episode of the TPE Book Club. Javonna and I are excited to share this week's lesson with you as we continue our study of Craig Groeschel's latest book, Think Ahead. Let's enjoy the episode. What's up and what's happening, TPE family? We're back with another session of the book club. Javonna and I are excited to continue our conversation around Craig Groeschel's latest book, Think Ahead. The purpose and the intent of the book club is to continue to bring fresh and relevant content from authors who are challenging us to become better as leaders, challenging us to become better as just people in general. And so we are now approaching lesson number 6. We've talked about a lot of great things, honestly. And for those of you who don't know, me and Javonna, we have like a little pre-production, and it's usually like a little bit of a not therapy session, but we talk about what's going on in the business, because I think we participate in our businesses kind of at an equal footing in terms of what my responsibility is and hers. And so we had a chance to just really unpack kind of how this lesson that we're going to talk about kind of applies to the season in our lives that we're at right now. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to Javonna. Hold on, but before I do that, I can't forget, get your copy of the book. Think Ahead is available at Amazon, Target, Walmart, wherever you purchase book. And there's also a workbook supplement that goes along with it. And really, the workbook has been guiding our conversation throughout this time. So don't forget to pick that book up. Definitely want to make sure we sow into the ministry of Craig Groeschel, because he's sowing into us so much just with free content and different things. It doesn't hurt us to go buy the book. So Javonna, it's on you.
All right. So just to kind of recap, what we've gone through so far is part 1 was I will be ready. Part 2 is I will be devoted. Part 3 is I will be faithful. And we're in lesson 6. I'm really excited. So we're going to talk a little bit today about lesson 6, but I'm really excited about the next section, which is part 4, is I will be an influencer. And so next week we'll talk about that. And we're sorry we had a little break. We've had a lot going on at our other jobs. And so we took a little break, but next week for sure we'll put out I will be an influencer. And there's some really good content around that. But to keep going around I will be faithful. Last time we talked about the 3 things that faithful means. And Craig Groeschel says this a lot in this chapter. I actually listened to this chapter before we jumped on today, just so that I could make sure that I refresh my memory. But faithful means that we're going to treat people well, we're going to steward our resources, and we're going to respond to God. And the first thing we talked about in lesson 5 is that treat people, how we're going to treat people, how we're going to be faithful in treating people well. And lesson 5, the title is Every Interaction is an Opportunity to Add Value. And I think we had a really good conversation around adding value to those that we come in contact with each and every day, and what that actually looks like. And even some reasons why we don't stop and actually add value. But today we're going to go to that second one, which is stewarding our resources. And so lesson 6 title is Every Resource and Prompting is an Opportunity. And I think the thing that Alex and I talked about the most before we got on this recording was, are you ready? Like, are you ready for that opportunity? Are you basically using the resources so when the opportunity presents itself that you are 100% ready and faithful in that, you're going to use all those resources to the best of their ability. So there's a sentence in the workbook that I really, really liked. And it says, our culture tends to condition us to focus on acquisition and consumption. And I kind of think of that as like the selfish side, acquisition and consumption, rather than facilitation and generosity. If we truly want to be faithful to thinking about others, we have to choose to be faithful in this pursuit. And to me, when I think about being faithful in the pursuit, in order to be faithful in the pursuit, you have to be ready when the opportunity presents itself. What are your thoughts on that, Alex?
No, 100%. I think that as we continue to grow our business here at TPE, as our other jobs continue to grow as well, I just think there's an urgency, particularly just on a personal level, to continue to sharpen myself and become better. For the better part of my career, I've kind of just relied on just knowing the answers. I think when it comes down to the basic level of what we do, I think we can provide value on not say a surface level. What we might call surface might be 5 to 10 levels deep for the person who doesn't have the level of experience that we have. And so a lot of times when we're having these conversations and when we're adding value, we're usually adding value. And I'm gonna stick this in. And I wanted to talk about this the other day, but I didn't get a chance to. We have horizontal and vertical relationships, and I don't know if we ever talked about these levels of relationships before, Javonna, but I think it's a lot of times it's easy for us to talk in the vertical sense. Like, we know how to speak to our superiors, we know how to speak to the people who we're leading, but sometimes there's difficulty when you're running with people who are like-minded. I think that's why, in a lot of instances, why we're in this business together, because I think we looked at each other and said, or everybody that's involved, we all looked at each other and said, you know what, hey, I think we all think in the same caliber of thought. Let's do this thing together. But the challenge is becoming for me is to go even deeper. Like, this lesson has really pushed me to think about how can I go deeper in my leadership, how can I go deeper in my preparedness, and like, how am I ready for those big conversations? I mean, last week I had the opportunity to be on the panel for HRCI, which is the HR company, and we had an opportunity to do this via Bonusly. Again, I thought there was only going to be 40 people on the line. End up being 2,000 people. If I would have walked into that Zoom just going off of a whim, I could have made myself look really foolish, and poorly represented both entities that I was representing at the time. And so it's one of those things where it's like these opportunities in faithfulness. And I don't want to be so long-winded, but I think when we're faithful, and then that faithfulness translates into discipline and consistency, and we continue to show up as our best versions, the opportunities will continue to grow and to grow. And then your current version of discipline and consistency is going to be challenged the bigger the opportunities are, the bigger the interactions are. So so in short, I do agree with exactly what you're saying, Javonna. Maybe that might have been a long-winded version of it, but I agree 100% with what you're saying. Just that push to be ready.
Yeah, and I think that's the discipline you were just talking about. Like, that's the key. So I wrote down a list of like resources, thinking about like resources that we can use to be ready when opportunities arise. So I put education, training, job experiences, skills, places you've traveled, languages you speak, hobbies, finances. Like, these are all resources that we have access to, or some of these we might not even have access to, but they're things that we know people who have access to them. And I'm thinking, how are our interactions with people, with these things, education, like how are our interactions and those resources helping us to be ready? And what habits do we have consistently? The faithfulness side, like how are we being faithful day in and day out to steward the resources so that when the opportunities arise, that you're ready to do it. You're ready to commit. You're ready to give your all. And I think we talked about it a little bit before this, but like the capacity we're in and the experience we have, like there probably are a lot of times we can just show up and be like, okay, I got the knowledge. Like I've been in that situation, but I think to really be good stewards, we have to be like, consistent students. Like we've got to be consistent students, learning, growing, pushing ourselves. Because if we're not doing that, then even some opportunities will still arise, but not the opportunities that I think we are wanting to arise at some point. They're not going to arise because we're not stewarding those resources. And so I think like we've been called to do that. And if we do that really, 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 really well, I think opportunities keep arising. And it's not opportunities for yourself. Like it's not these like selfish ambition opportunities. Like I want this opportunity to speak in front of this group. No. When I think about opportunities and being faithful, I think, treating people well and stewarding resources, like that's just something we've been called to do. So we just got to do it. Like, it's not a selfish, I want this, I want that. No. I think about the reason we started like working together in TPE, like when we sat down the very first time and like talked about it, I told you, I said, honestly, at this point, I'll do it for free. Like I want to I've got all this stuff in my head and this knowledge, and I want people to be better. I want businesses to be better. And so when we sat down at the beginning, like that was my vision, was like, to me, the payment side of it, like where we're headed, is a bonus. Like that's an opportunity for more. That's an opportunity for me to give back even more. And so I think I don't want you to take the opportunity side as like, you got to put in all this effort so that the opportunities you want in life are going to rise. That's going to be natural. That's going to happen. But at the end of the day, like, we're called to steward the resources, and like we can even be that resource to steward who we are well, so that those around us can go make a deeper impact than we could even make alone. And that's where I get excited, is like, if I can get knowledge from others and give that knowledge to somebody else, like that's just like that tree that you see. It's like, starts with one person, but that one person doing one thing can influence 2,000, 3,000, a million people. And so I don't know, that's what gets me really excited when I think about being faithful and like stewarding the resources that I've been given, is like, what kind of impact could we make if we really took the resources we were given consistently, and like, that one thing is like, just change the world. Like that's the reality of it. That's like, we could change the leadership world if we all put our heads together and start really working together to steward the resources we've been given, and we're faithful in the opportunities.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. I think Craig Groeschel says it consistently at the end of every podcast: as the leader gets better, so does the organization. And I know he says organization, but as you get better as a leader, everything around you has an opportunity to get better. Your family, your professional life, the things that happen at your church, the things you do in the community. As you get focused on getting better, all those other things follow up. So no, definitely, I'm going to go ahead and steer us towards a wrap up. So do you have a challenge for us this week, Javonna, or are we giving them a break?
We're giving them a break. I don't have like a big challenge, but I would say, like, if you want to challenge yourself in this, is like, what are 1 to 2 resources that you have? And I'm going to give a good example of this in our company. Like, Neff has the resource of speaking Spanish. And that's not a resource that you or I have, Alex. But
True that.
what are 1 to 2 resources that you've been given or you've been blessed with that you can somehow take and give back to somebody else? Because that's when the opportunities really arise, is when you take those resources that you've been given and you're faithful in using them to the best of your ability.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the TPE Book Club. Hopefully Javonna and I have said something that's going to help you pivot into the next season in your life, that's going to help you become a better leader, a better person for your home, your children, your spouse, your significant other. That's the whole goal of us doing this content each and every week, for the most part every week. We got other things happening sometimes too, but we thank you guys for tuning in so much. Do not forget to follow us on Instagram. That's at TPE Now. Just TPENOW. Also, if you haven't already, sign up for Lead Better. We have a free virtual event every month where we pick topics that we think that are going to help people get better and help people grow and advance. And until next time, TPE family, peace. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys participating and engaging with us. If you want more information on how you can get connected with us and how you can continue your journey of leadership development, head over to tpenow.com, join Leader Square, and let's grow together.